Just 2 rounds remain here in the Velocity Ultimate Masters, and so now we find ourselves on moving day. It is the chance of all chances to say either I'm going to position myself for the championship finale, or I'm going to take it by the scruff of the neck and make sure that the title is ours with 1 round of racing still to play. 4 teams still in with a shot of taking the title, 2 needing to get results to go their way today. But the key here is that Shazoo are the team that are on top, and it's ET8 who have every single thing to go and respond with. My name's Jake Sperry. James Otto, as you can see here on my right-hand side, has decided that he is capsized at this moment in time, but I am getting word that he's paddling over furiously in a rusty coracle to try and get over to us as quickly as he possibly can for your Velocity Ultimate Masters and round 9 of 10 here of the championship. So let's get ourselves in with what has been kicking off on a wonderful week's worth of racing. We move ourselves in now to what is a critical phase of the championship, knowing that it's just this round here that's going along on round number 9 at the Circuit of the Americas before Lusail comes into play over in Qatar to end out the season on the 19th of March. So for the moment, it's a case of 2 circuits that are similar, 2 circuits that also find themselves very different in terms of what they've got here in the Ultimate Masters, which is brought to you by Hyundai, Intercomp, Monster Energy, Brand Garage, Level Academy, and the Specialist. So let's take a look at what happened at round 8, because this was the moment that the championship swung in favor. Aaron Rai would get the win for AMR, but critically, Snack and Silo would be classified 2nd and 3rd, giving them a major haul of points in comparison to ET8, who end up with 7th and 8th, respectively. Europoop and Wet Badger end up 4th and 6th, with Gavroche in 5th, and AKP Adrian, the best for the future racing team, in 9th position. Fedemori rounding out the top 10 for the Angry Sharks. Over the page then to 11th through 20th, and you'll get a sense of the teams that maybe haven't quite got exactly what they wanted out of the opening work then that was needed of round 8 at the Autodromo José Carlos Pache. And we'll keep an eye as well on the battle going on at the bottom between the All Elite Racing team with Tatum, Restec, and Alien Motorsport. So let's take a look now at 11 through 20. You saw there the likes of teams, for example, a non-start for Tatum Restec, a non-finish for All Elite, and then, of course, AMR with Otso Zito way down the order and mired with penalty time that was added on at the end of the race. Leon also finding himself in trouble with that, which leads us over to the standings as they set themselves up. Now, there are going to be a few things to keep in note here. For example, we'll start with the championship. So Shazoo Seeders Igniters, they are 24 points clear at the top. They need to be clear by 57 championship points. So they must outscore by 33 tonight against ET8 to take this one or to make sure it doesn't go all the way to Lusail. RSC are going to need to outscore Shazoo by at least 17, and AMR are going to need to outscore Shazoo, by 21 in order to keep this going. So the top 4 still in with a shot of picking up some pretty good running. There is the fight for 5th between the Future Racing team and apparently the second Future Racing team, which is Ventari Esports on the right-hand side. Angry Sharks are 7th, but All Elite Racing team picked up a 5-point deduction for a late roster submission. So they will turn around and realize that they are only on 78 championship points, and they're only 5 points clear of Tatum Restec and 9 points clear of Alien Motorsport, who, remember, had 1 less round over the course of this season. And in terms of why it's important, 8th, 9th, and 10th, we're talking about it. Let's get a look at that prize pool money, which is there for the teams. €500 is in the back pocket if you can take the title, which is currently in the hands of the Season 2 champion Shizou Seeders Igniters, they know that the money pool goes down to 9th place, which was entry fee of €30. That's currently being held as it stands by Tatum Restec and Alien Motorsport, who are a late submission in, taking over from TF10, who decided they weren't going to take the challenge this season, the team folding. It's the difference between no money, 30, or as well, it is going to be an opportunity of 50 out there, €50 available for 8th place. So a €50 swing for a team between 8th and 10th. The difference of €150 for the title between the top two, and then €50 placements for the battles 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th. So let's now take a little dive over to the driver lineups, and that late driver lineup switch then is Goto, who jumps in then for All Elite, as he will start along with Caden. It is Armateo 46 and ET8 Ryderdal who are there together working for it. Silo is back in once again. First time last time out that he did not pick up a victory, but critically, he will now have Dirk for the first time to go and help with 4SCI. RSC have Europa Op and as well Epic Vale there to help out. And then over at AMR, it's an interesting scenario. Your winner last time out, Aaron Rye, back in. It's an unchanged team, but critically, Otso Zito must serve a qualifying ban and will not be taking to the starting grid. First start for Quantum, who will go alongside AKP Adrian. Out there, Kareem and Christian will be together for Tatum Restec, Fedamore and Jakita in at the Angry Sharks. And first start for Lucas von der Boss, as well as AMS Knight, who will be jumping in. Not his first time. Max von der Heist and Gavroche are going to be together. So let's take a look at this circuit the car. We're going to jump away for just one moment. When we come back, we'll be into the thralls of qualifying. 4 drivers will find themselves out with Otso Zita at the end of Q1. They will need to book a place in to get a better starting position. qualifying is already underway and laps have already been set, with Silo on top right now as best of the lap times in his Alpine, showing that SCI have come to play. Clouds overhead though here after intermediate laps, so there's no threat by the looks of things of rain affecting this Q1 session. We know that Otto Zito's had to retire the car, but of course we're already 11.5 minutes left in Q1, so it was an early ready up. So the understanding is from race control that because you haven't you've readied up too quick, those drivers who will be found accountable for it are going to get slapped with a penalty, no doubt about it. Now, we are still missing one driver out there for this running. We've got both of the Kicksaubers, both of the Haas's, we've got both of the Aston Martins. It looks like we've got both of the Mercedes, both of the Alpines, both Ferraris are here, and so too are the Racing Bulls. The Red Bulls, of course, are both here, and the McLarens, which would indicate to me that the issue falls with the Williams. And a driver that cannot get into qualifying, who did join the session, was AMS Knight, who could not, for Alien Motorsport, find themselves out on track. And I think because the session has started, I don't think he's going to be able to get in and have his name accounted for in this qualifying session. So if that is in fact the case, then that is going to be trouble, for they will have one start in 19th position on the grid. So I would turn around then when you're fighting at the bottom, you're looking for €50 in terms of prize pool. That's not what Alien Motorsport would want. Gotto, we're on board with here on an outlap, trying to get the tyres into range to start working here. All drivers out there looking to hope that this time is going to work here, as we find ourselves about an hour away from Bowling Green, which is famous for Texas A&M, the Aggies out there for those who are fans of college ball. And so for the moment, it's a case of who is going to step up and say that they want a big time Thursday to work for them. This is not the easiest of qualifyings out there, as you do just have to set yourself up. Big wide line taken, and the start line here is very, very early, so you've got to be really switched on your lap, hit your braking marker perfectly, and flying in through turn number one, Gotto goes, and we'll feel like that was a decent start to the lap now. Flicking over through the S's section. Watch how on rails the car needs to be. There's no real fight. There's no massive amount of understeer here, but there is a huge wiggle through the middle, and that is an invalidation of the lap, overcutting at turn 6, and so, or turn 7, sorry, and that is more than enough here at Circuit of the Americas to make sure that the lap will not count. So trouble already as we take a look over to Tatum Restec Christian, who has a massive lockup at turn 1 and has to be maybe a little bit more vigilant on dealing with that to start things off. So that is a troublesome start then with the lockup of the tyres. And he also, same corner, same issue, same invalidation, doesn't quite pay off. Now then, question's going to turn to Aaron Rye, who is going to have to hold the hopes of his team alone here today in order to pull himself up then and his team up to the highest level. Little kick up of grass on the outside. You see it there flash across the camera, but disappear without too much worry. Back up onto the noisy pedal, and the idea is that you get yourself through, and actually AMS Knight will get in time. So there'll be no problems then for Knight, but he will be down a half a session in order to put the time together on the board. So AMS Knight now needing to find the time to recover. Aaron Rye now through into the third sector. A long turn 15, taking that big arcing wide line. Two different schools of thought on how you can go. You can take a shallow line and then try and sacrifice the mid-corner speed, or you can take the wide line and get the big run off on the exit through the left of 19 and over towards 20. We'll see whether this is going to work, whether this will cook for Aaron Rye. Of course it will on a 130.8. So that's the first time that we see as a benchmark on the board. Dirk then onto a 130.9 goes second. Here comes Silo, Mr. Console, out there, and he does a 30.6 to say that is more than enough. Ryderdal goes second, and Armateo now out there on a lap, who has his front wing intact today after the massive damage that he sustained over at the Brazilian race at Interlagos. Caden currently now in 4th position. Europoop on a 30.8 is 5th. Kareem then on a 31.3 is the first, I would say, of those who will be truly in danger. Gavroche on a 31 flat. It's second for Armateo on a 130.7. So that's good enough. Epic Veil having a really tough run there, and again invalidating the lap, and so we're seeing a fair bit of this. We've got Quantum in the pits, but this is Max van der Geest, who is hoping for a good lap time. Really pushed through turn 19, tried to get it on a level, and then gets the DRS flap open, and that is 5th for Max van der Geest on a 130.891. So there is some positivity there in terms of the lap time that is found. Into the pits comes Christian on a 138 flat, which was set on his intermediate tyres. So he's clearly burnt through a set of soft tyres and hasn't got anything for his troubles except the bubble, as it stands, with 4 cars yet to go out and set a time with Otto Zito's qualifying band. They are Quantum, Gotto, Knight, and Epic Veil, who will need to find their way through, as we see an invalidated lap here for Epic Veil, who will now know that it will probably pay off to come down into the pit and get his service sorted, so that he can go out again and have one final attack to it. Silo, feeling he's safe, will retire himself then from Q1, as he knows a 30.6 is not going to be trifled with up at the top of the order. So Epic Veil will now go back into pits, and we'll now see that as the timer is ticking down, you're putting a lot more pressure on yourself than you would necessarily want. So currently, we know that AMR are missing one. It's Future Racing Team, it is All Elite, it is, of course, the Alien Motorsport and RSC, who have one out. Angry Sharks are 8th and 9th at the moment in qualifying, so they'll be happy at the moment with the qualifying efforts that they've put together. But a 30.9 in my book, anything in the 130.9s I don't think is safe. I think you need to look at a 30.8 as your true safe margin. On point, Europoop then retires the car and says, I don't need that stress and threat. I think I'm going to make it through without too much trouble at all. Ryderdal also feels the same way and won't go out for a second lap. Critical in what the team like ET8 are doing right now. They've got an aged roster by comparison to some of the others. So by looking at the other teams who have the time to practice, maybe ET8 have struggled, but they've probably needed a big get-together session here to say, this is how quick I need to be. Dirk all the way down in 10th. On track right now on an outlap is Gotto. So off sequence with everyone else with 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Trying to get some temperature into the tyres. And critically, around this lap, he's given himself time to back out of the lap if at all possible. Max van der Geest will feel he's happy. Caden also, for All Elite, will be happy with that 130.8. He's in. Aaron Rye has also retired the car from the session. So I would turn and say that this is going to be about those from about 8th on back, those in the 30.9s, who are looking to try and show what they've got. Through turn number 1, look at the understeer up the top of the hill. Really struggling to pick a marker there through turn number 1. That would be troublesome. Dirk feels like he's safe on a 30.9 and really trying to dance now through. This is the difficult corner to get right. It's so easy to overcook through 7. Chiquita feels safe on a 30.9, and Gavroche on a 31 flat. Feels like that's going to be good enough as well. Your top 11 have all decided they don't want to go out for one more lap. Whatever will be, will be. Aggressive over the inside curve then at turn number 11, and now on the roller coaster run, it's always fading over to the right like a lazy fade shot from a golfer at the Players' Championship. But right now, it is a case of Gotto trying to show what he is capable of. 101.0 by the time the second sector has come into play. Don't be fooled by the purple that is there on screen. That's just an indicator for you that it's faster than the non-existent lap that is there right now for Gotto. Pushing through the triple right here in Texas, looking for a chance to say that the lap is going to come together, and there's not going to be too much to argue about with this attempt. All Elite would love 2 cars in Q2. Crosses the line. It's 12th. It's a 131 flat there by Gotto, and I don't think that's entirely safe compared to where everyone else is. He will have an option for another lap, but he's already backed out of it by the sense that he doesn't have battery. AMS Knight won't be able to go out there and get a time in session, so he's going to be down at the back. One less car for drivers to worry about then. So Quantum, now on the outside looking in, is going to need a very, very good lap. And so he will push now out then of turn 9, over the top of the crest at 10 and over towards turn number 11, needing the Haas right now to just respond to every action that he requires of it. Just proving that every single section is going to work in favor. There is 55 seconds remaining. Epic Vale will need a time. We'd expect him to get through into Q2 in the AMG Mercedes. So that would put Lucas van den Bosch on a little bit of a trouble streak at the moment. So for Lucas, he knows that a 131.4 is by no means good enough. Will need to get into the point zeros to have any shot of safety out there. 26 seconds, really pushing now is Quantum to try and get any sort of lap out there on track, as up goes Kareem to 13th. That knocks AKP Adrian down on 31.1. Oh, it's a good 30.9 from Quantum. Good enough there, and it puts his teammate Adrian on the bubble then with 5 seconds to go in Q1. Here comes Epic Vale over towards the line, pushing with everything he's got. 31 flat, and the checkered flag falls, and so that's the first time that's set. We know that there was one Aston Martin off the road there. Adrian currently out at 0.2 of a second adrift. So is this going to be enough to knock Kareem out of contention here through the final corner of the Andretti? It's a 30.9, more than good enough then to get into Q2. Gotto now, who is in the pits, is on the bubble on a 131 flat. Kareem knows he needs something. Christian at this point is hoping for a lap that can get himself out. Gotto knows he can't do anything more because he's in the pits. And there's also the curious case of Lucas van den Bosch, who is there behind, who is trying to get the chance to move out then for Alien into Q2. Here comes Christian over to the line. That one's not going to be any better there. It's a 31.6. That's wide through the final corner from Lucas van den Bosch, and that will be that. We look over then through Sector 3. I think Kareem's lap, it is invalidated, so he will not be able to set a time in. Both, and this is big, both of Alien Motorsport and also of all of Tatum Restec are out in Q1 with Otso Zito. It's the first time I think we've seen that happen, where the bottom 2 teams and a team with a quali ban are out in Q1. And so it's a case of every other team now. Well, no, it's a very simple game. Can we pull 2 cars into the top 10 to get into Q3? 5 cars out then in Q1. One is Otso Zito then for AMR with the qualifying ban. And critically here in the race down at the bottom for 50 and 30 euros, it's a case of those teams 9th and 10th in the championship who cannot get themselves out and into Q2. Q2 on the other side of this. Q2 then is underway. Another 5 cars to eliminate in the session. Everybody is out on an outlap with the exception of Epic Vale, who is electing to stay in the pits, having needed to burn an extra set of tyres out there in that Q1 session. So, as they try and focus up, and note that they have a lot to try and uncover in this Q2, knowing another 5 cars will drop themselves out of contention. It's about finding which drivers have it and which drivers don't. There was a pretty big difference between those at the top and the bottom. It was about half a second, the difference between being in on pole and out in Q1, so there's clearly some time to burn for a number of drivers out there. Our focus is with Ventari's Max van der Geest at this moment in time, who is flying about now through the S's section. And hark, I spot someone who is sailing down the Colorado River and over to us. James Osser here alongside with me. James, good of you to make it, but Q1 was a very simple affair. Q2 now proving to be where the difficulties lie.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Yeah, apologies for that one. My arms are aching from all that swimming I've had to do, Jake. But I tell you what, Q1, very simple affair, isn't it, for this one here? And I'm very much looking forward to seeing Team Chizou here, their first opportunity to take another title here for the Ultimate Masters here tonight. With Dirk and Silo at the helm, something tells me that they're going to be favourites.
They're going to be favourites, but they're going to need to score over 34 points. Sorry, I'll correct myself. They'll need to score 33 more points than ET8 to confirm that. And that's not an easy thing when both the ET8 drivers are here in Q2. So we'll keep an eye on it as Van der Geest now pushing through 16, 17 and 18. We'll be looking for this first time on the board. Now we are expecting used set if the conditions are going to be good. If the conditions aren't going to be good, it's going to rain in the second half of the session, they are going to go on a new set. That's a 30.9 from Max van der Geest, which to me could indicate one or two things. 31.1 from AKP Adrian is sort of similar pace to what we saw in Q1. So let's get an eye out on their Rydal 31 flat, 31.1 from Armateo. Those are used sets that are starting to be applied here with this first run of quali.
Invalid lap then for Fed Mori as well for ASRT, so nothing to be improved here. Dirk also invalidating his lap as well. Plenty of lap time left though in Q2 here, so we're going to have Silo set his lap. Is he going to get anywhere near Max van der Geest? No, he will not. He's down with a 31.3, but again, you say soft tyres. Expectation is that that's not going to be particularly competitive at the moment. We've got a big spin out for Aaron Rai on his in lap.
Well, you don't see it too often there, but turn number 1 is one of the most interesting corners on the lap. It's a massive climb up, big red, and then back down it again as Gotto goes 7th on the 32.1. The big key, though, is you've got a massive late uphill braking zone, but when you're putting the power down, it's plateau flat to downhill.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously people will be very keen to get on the power as quickly as they can, because of course you can earn a significant amount of time if you've got all that base behind you going downhill, of course, with the gravity in your favour. Keeping an eye out at the moment on Gavroche as well, the man slightly falling out of form a little bit at the moment personally, but Ventauri happy to keep fielding him at the moment. And with Max van der Geest up at the top of the standings and the only person into the 1 minute 30s, Gavroche has got one hell of a benchmark to try and match his teammate as he now approaches the triple right-hander in the third sector.
Yeah, you got to remember as well here for Gavroche, who has backed out of his lap there by the looks of things, so he'll be looking to gear up for a second attempt at it, or maybe even to try and dive back down into the pits. It's a case of, for Ventari, they are in a massive fight now with the Future Racing team. There's just 2 points between them for 5th and 6th in the championship.
Yes, exactly. And the thing is that all of these drivers have got to do the best that they can in order to try and mitigate any kind of potential issues at a circuit like this one as well. The undercut is an extremely powerful place. So when we get into the main race here, they're not just going to be focusing on their driving. Their team engineers and everyone at their teams are going to try
They are. They're going to
and
try and do everything.
maximise.
They absolutely are. So we're going to get a little look and see exactly how that is all going to work out as Quantum sits back and says this could be a chance out there. First time we've seen Quantum out there, and it is the first time this season that we have not seen in the car over the course of round 1 to round 9 either the drivers of Justin, Kevin Zuneberg, or David. Every round, one of those three have been there. It's AKP Adrian and Quantum only 9th on that first attempt going forward. And so we'll be looking around at this then after Q1 and saying, look, gonna have to manage this then for Q2 and get everything possible out there on this run and running.
Looks like our race director's just trying to get invites out to people here. But, another situation report is that these drivers are obviously going to try and maximise everything that they can. Now, Kota obviously offers its own individual challenges, so it doesn't surprise me that FRT, who have got a slightly more diverse squad in that sort of midfield outfit, have decided to sort of broach into the likes of Quantum for this event because he is someone that is known for being particularly well at this circuit. Adrian, though, always showing his real consistency at the moment, proving to be a real nice addition to the squad at the moment is Adrian to FRT, but I'm keeping a very firm eye on Quantum. He has got some boundaries to set, and I'm wondering, from an FRT perspective as well, Jake, how Kevin Zunberg is doing, because since being dropped from the main roster at the moment, albeit, of course, they have the right to do so, he has fallen a little bit out of form, so it'll be interesting to see how he can get himself back up into the front too.
Yeah, I agree. And so this is about just getting what you can out of these results. And the Ultimate Masters continues to be a very tough battleground. So over the line and fastest on a 1:30.5 for Quantum. So that's the first real lap of anger that we've seen on a fresh set of tyres. And so you're turning around and saying, well, if everyone's going to go out aggressive, going for top 10, I would probably say you're looking around that 30.5 as at least a mark that you've got to try and hit to feel like you've got any form of stability. Here comes Epic Veil. Then you can see the battery harvesting with the rain light on, not an indication in these conditions that he's overcommitted, but he's really attacked too hard there through the final corner on a 31.4. Doesn't really write home too much, doesn't paint a lovely picture. On board now with Chiquita.
Yeah, overheated his tyres a little bit, as suspected. Epic Veil is prone to overdriving the car a little bit, actually. It's in the races that I've seen him racing in recently, as Chiquita comes across the line and goes up to P2. I suspect a new set of tyres on his car, looking very strong as he gets ahead of Max van der Geest. Here's a man I want to keep a very firm eye on in this race weekend here. SCI Dirk, he's known for being very quick at the lesser technical circuits like this one, so I would expect this is going to be a particularly quick lap, and it is. It matches Quantum.
It does another 1:30.5, so that will certainly be something that Dirk will look at and go positive in terms of that run that's gone through. Yoopawop, who pretty much quietly ghosted through Q1, will be looking around at this Q2 and trying to make sure at least both of the cars then, or at least one, is going to make it then from RSC on their big battle today, and that's third with a 1:30.5 of his own. So that's great in terms of effort and attempt, but they want at least one car then from RSC in. They've got one on the bubble right now in 10th as we now focus to Gavroche, who will be looking at a big charge forward. Castle on left-hand side. Max van der Geest goes even quicker on a 1:30.4 as Aaron Rye goes second by just 0.06 of a second. Can Gavroche find the run to the line that makes it work? Answer is yes. Only P6 though on a 30.6.
Yeah, certainly an ish as Silo comes across the line to go fastest. No surprises with a 1:30.291. Quickest man on console, showing why he has got that particular title at the moment. We're still waiting on 2 laps from people in this qualifying session. Caden and Fedmori actually abandoning his lap on this occasion, and after invalidating, so the McLaren outfit will now pit his car, get it back in the pits and get a fresh set of boots on that car. But as it stands so far, Silo showing, or flexing at least, all of the muscles that he's got in order to try and get SCI over the line tonight. Dirk a little bit down the order, but not too significantly. Might not be done tonight, but certainly with Silo's pace, they're giving it a good go.
Caden's going to be in a position as well where he's in a really awkward place. There's nothing you can ask more in terms of pressure on a driver out there, James, than sit down, have a chance to go and qualify. You normally have 15 minutes. You turn around and go, you've got 3.5.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tricky one, isn't it, as well? I'm just keeping an eye out on the car for a second. I thought we were raining on circuit, but the clouds are starting to darken just a little bit here at the Circuit of the Americas. It can rain pretty substantially around here. Of course, Austin, Texas on the border of the Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico, whichever you want to go by. But keeping an eye out on Silo as he now chucks his car through the final corner. Silo will be diving into the pit lane to get a fresh set of boots on that car, but he might even just retire, to be fair. With a 130.291, one would suspect he's very comfortable and he'll retire, and that's exactly what he's done.
Yeah, so this is going to be a very important look at your Opel. A 30.5 you feel safe at the moment, but there are going to be more drivers who will be putting times in, looking to improve. ET8, who are 9th and 10th, they've not really shown anything out there so far. They're 30.8, they're 31 flat, 31.1. That's not representative time. So I think those teams with 2:20 to go here, James, who have retired the car, with the exception of probably Silo, Max van der Geest and Aaron Rai, I think that's too early.
Yeah, perhaps a little bit too early considering the situation, but it may be that they're potentially just trying to cover off a little bit from any kind of, I wouldn't say weather, but certainly trying to avoid any kind of traffic. I think everyone from Gavroche upwards is certainly safe, and that doesn't surprise me as to why they've decided to pit. I'd be a bit worried if I was Gavroche just on the pace of the two ET8 drivers, because that could push him down to P9. I think Adrian has a shout as well, so he's on the brink a little bit, Gavroche, but I think he's probably going to be safe, but only just with 1.5 minutes to go.
So, final laps gearing up, and it is the bottom 8 drivers who are going for it, from Chiquita all the way over to Fedemori, who has yet to set a lap time with Caden. They all know that they're on final attempt mode and looking to try and see whether their laps are going to work. Both the ET8 drivers then go out and look to set their times first. Up over the top on board with Ryder Dahl. We just cut away from turn 1 and down into turn 2 to take a look at Mateo, the man on the bubble, trying to dance through this SS section. One wrong move and it's invalidation, and that's the last thing you can be hoping for at this stage. Climbing up the hill through 8 into 9, and right now needing a good second sector now to set up the rest of the lap.
Yeah, 6, 7, 8, and 9 were perfect, actually, for Mateo. He lost 23 thousandths in the first sector, but one would suggest that perhaps he's just not pushing too hard. Wants to try and maximise as much as he can from the tyres in the first sector, so then he can have it all in the third. Tyres will cool down as he heads down towards the straight, then towards turn number 12. Sector 2 split comes up imminently, just around this corner, and we'll see where he is in comparison. And there is the difference. 0.2 of a second will push him into the 130s, but at the moment he's only falling as it stands to Ryder Dahl's pace, so hopefully where he's not used his tyres in the first sector, he'll find the time in the third.
Yeah, you can be really aggressive in that third sector, get a lot of rotation in the steering wheel, especially here at turn 19.
Wow.
He's trying to dance the tightrope. Brilliant lap. Checker flag is out here in Q2. I saw a yellow flag for AKP Adrian out there, so I don't think he's going to get much done. That's 8. There are 30.7 for Mateo. That's 5th for ET8 Ryder Dahl. He's got pace, and he is going to use it out there. Chiquita is on the bubble. Now as it stands, Gotto and Caden looking for times. Caden all over that curb at turn 19. Through the Andretti then, and heading towards the line. How is it? It's 9.
Oh dear.
It's good enough. And so he's in at the moment on a 30.6. You've still got Epic Vale trying to get in. Mateo on the bubble is out! It's out in Q2! My goodness! Adrian's lap is done. Gotto can't get through. And now there's just a couple of angry sharks to say, can RSC get themselves in with a Q3 effort? Chiquita needing to find a 10th of a second. Wow. He gets more than that. He's well in with that attempt. Caden now on the bubble. Fedamori! Not enough, I don't think. As he crossed the line, he will find himself there with that completion. What a Q2 we've had, and a shock that was not needed then as he went through. Fedamori short by 0.5 of a second over the line exactly. So out in Q2, it's Fedamori, Epic Vale, Armateo 46, AKP Adrian and Gotto. With Q3, your top 10 shootout, a little bit jumbled up. And so now to the top 10 shootout, where teams will now be looking to put as many cars as they can stacked up at the front. There are teams that have 2 of their drivers in. They currently are SCI, so Shazoo Seeders Igniters, and as well Ventari, who have done really well in qualifying over the second half of this season. Every other team has only 1 member left. So that's 1 Angry Shark. That's 1 from the Future Racing team. 1 that has come out for AMR, of course, with the quali ban. Then 1 for ET8, 1 at RSC, and 1 at All Elite. And when All Elite came into today with a 5-point penalty for late roster submission, this is a huge boon for them here going into this Q3 session.
Yeah, Caden managing to get through is a decent effort, though, so would be happy to get themselves in there, potentially get some big points on the board to try and mitigate, of course, the 5-point penalty that they've had to receive. I'm keeping a very firm eye, though, on the front of the field here. I think Silo is probably the personal favourite for pole position here, but I don't want to discredit the likes of Quantum, and I don't especially want to discredit either the likes of Uopoa, because I think all 3 of those drivers have shown probably the most consistency in their lap times, especially as I was watching through Q1 and then in Q2. But Max van der Geest as well, he's also on the brink, so he could be one to watch. But yeah, I think Silo on the way. Let's see what we'll call it: Silo, Quantum, Yoapuop, top 3.
Well, out of the pits goes Quantum, and was the first driver, it looks like, to blink out there in this Q3 session. They waited a full 2 minutes to get themselves set up and ready for it. Now, I look at drivers when they go out into these sessions, and you start thinking, well, what's the benefit of going out early, or would you rather just go out late? What would drivers be looking at doing in a 2-minute gap like that then, James, to get themselves ready for Q3?
Thing, isn't it? You've got to try and make sure that everything's set up and ready for you. And the thing is, a circuit like this one, if you make sure your outlap is too hot, you end up actually burning through your tires too quickly, because this is a very high deg circuit. As we know, the undercut is very powerful in the main race, so you've really got to prepare your tires and your car at a very steady pace, unlike other circuits. So as long as you just navigate like exactly what Quantum's doing here, going at a steady pace, and make sure that you leave with plenty of time, you'll have plenty of tyres by the time you get to turn 20.
Yeah, so this is a case of trying to baby the car around. Maybe we normally talk about 80%, but now this looks like 70, 60%. out there that you're pushing at in terms of why you don't want to burn the tyre out. But you're also trading in this position, burnt out tyre, for a very cold opening sector on the tyres. And if you're not too careful, the last thing you want going through the S's section here at Circuit of the Americas is excessive understeer.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people actually as well take their outlap a little bit too slowly. So by the time they get to turn 4, turn 5, they actually have buckets of oversteer, and the car ends up being spat out of them and going through turn 6. Now there's plenty of runoff, so I haven't seen a DNF through there, but the lap time is of course completely ruined, as are the tyres. But Quantum getting on with the lap now, expecting these to be a U set of tyres, so don't expect the timing boards to go light, but certainly going to be wanted to set at least an early precedent here for the FRT Haas Ferrari.
Dropping down the hill then, through turn 2 and into the Silverstone-inspired 3, 4, 5 and into the long turn 6. Get over to the right-hand side. Hit turn 7 perfectly. Then you got turn 8. Up the hill, very easy to oversteer. Turn 9 is pretty much a short shoot run into 10. And then you're looking to try and gear up this turn 11, which will be a great place for the almighty Sen when it comes to racing action, but in qualifying, it's just another corner. Get it set up and work the backstretch.
Hopefully we'll get the lap data in just a second as we keep a firm eye on Quantum, heading his way now down towards a turn 12. An absolute perfection there from the director to hear my call on that one as he now heads his way into the third sector. 1 minute point 8 is not particularly fast, but certainly within the ballpark of what you would expect on a U set of tyres.
Yep, it's in the ballpark, so we'll see how this is going to go. Quantum now making that pull through the triple right, knowing that he is the benchmark that everyone else will assess by with 6 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock. He's pushing there through turn 19. Don't accuse him of not using his road tax. He's used all of it and crosses the line on a 1:30.5, which is good enough at the moment to be top, but you got drivers like Dirk just behind looking to improve and does so on a 30.3. So there is clear pace available out there. Silo to a 30.1 is going to be fastest. And then Caden, a 30.3 of his own. Call it a 0.4. Gavroche up to third. Can Aaron Rye, who won last time out, upset the apple cart? He'll split then those drivers through on this early attempt. Ryder Dahl's lap won't count, so he'll have to go again. Yo Boop goes fourth.
Yeah, man, I think we'll go P3. He's only 22 thousandths behind Dirk at the moment, but Aaron Rye's come out of nowhere over the last part of Q2 and into Q3, so he's one to watch here for AMR. Here comes Chiquita, going across turn 20 right now, might get on that curb, elects not to go too far over those. He comes across the line, oh, beats Dirk as well. So we've got 3 drivers now within that sort of ballpark alongside Silo with the 1 minute 30.2, but 1 minute 30.1 for Silo is cracking. Man, Max on the Geese, 400ths down against Uopawop in P6.
And critically, Ryder Dahl is the only one who hasn't set a time in 10th position. He's now given himself the job of carrying ETA into position for the race. We know that they've struggled with qualifying more than the racing itself, but we know that they can go and get results. They have got results before. It's just a case for them of giving themselves the platform to do so. Now, 33 points sounds like a lot, but in reality, if you can sit down with a 1-2, the pole position, the fastest lap, that is 57 points. By comparison, you're looking at 33 points lost from the 57, so it's 47, 37, 27. It's 24 points. 24 points is the equivalent of finishing off 8th and 9th, which at the moment isn't out of the realms of possibility right now, with one car down in 13th and the other one currently classified in 10th.
Yeah, the problem with ET8 at the moment, as I keep saying, as I've basically been saying pretty much throughout this, never mind just Ultimate Masters, but this season at the moment, is they've got a very aging squad, and as a result, their squad is just obviously prioritising their careers, their real life, work streams, and making sure that they're able to, do things that allow them to live. So this is the problem. As soon as you've got that aging squad, they're not prioritising the game anymore, and as a result, you end up seeing a little bit of a slowdown in their pace, and that's nothing to do with anything other than they've just got to be adults at the moment. So they just need to start diversifying the squad a little bit if they want to be back in the depths of P1, P2 again. But as it stands so far, with Matteo down in P13 and Ryder Dahl struggling in this early phase, ETA are in a bit of trouble.
they are. And they know now they're down to one lap, one opportunity here. Quantum's 30.5, a couple tenths adrift at the moment. Silo has the margin by 600ths, but Aaron Wright took the win last time out. Looks like he's closest, but this is what I find funny about the Angry Sharks. They'll be nowhere in a handful of races, and then they'll suddenly come up with an amazing qualifying. It's like a ghost out the blue.
Yeah, Angry Sharks have got this weird philosophy around them where they've got a good selection of drivers that are able to deliver some sort of, I wouldn't say mediocre, but above mediocre pace, middle of the road, fair to middling, whatever you want to call it. But every so often, they'll reach a circuit where clearly there's drivers that are specializing in those specific circuits, those that they know they're really quick at. And Chiquita seems to find that this circuit is certainly for him, because obviously he's up there in P3, he's beaten Dirk, and he's only, what's that, knocking on the door of Aaron Rai by around about 6,000ths of a second. So, you know, I've completely discredited Chiquita from this one, but you know what? He's got a shot at this. If he just pulls together the perfect lap, gets his outlap just right, especially with the track warming up now as the sun is starting to blare down, he might have an outside chance of this, you know.
He might. Silo has decided he wants to go out first of anybody. He will have, I believe, one of the Ventauris behind him then going through this section. So we'll be very much keeping abreast of what is going on in this qualifying. You can see car pulls out to the left and pulls on through and jumps. So clearly feeling like there is maybe less worry about the wear out there. And we're seeing a lot from these drivers that they'd much rather have clean air than pick up a tow along the straight. And I think that's quite interesting. So obviously the tow that you get along the straight is not going to be enough to mitigate those who make those turns and say, look, you're going to struggle with a bit of dirty air. Max van der Geest then currently will be the first to go to the line to set a flying time.
Yeah, quite interesting moment here to just review how people do their outlaps, to be fair. So, obviously Silo left out quite early, but Max van der Geest has decided to go for a bit more of a faster approach towards his outlap. So he obviously wants slightly warmer tyres in that first sector. Might lose a little bit more in the third as a result, while Silo, on the other hand, is still only just getting around the treble right-hander. But it'll be interesting to see how Max van der Geest's first sector is compared to the rest of the lap. Here we go.
Yeah, so DRS flat wide open and looking to charge up Big Red as they go towards turn number one, named after one of the financiers of this circuit, and then dropping back down the hill. That looked pretty good in terms of a first corner, and the second one naturally is going to be on its line, heading over the curves with a lot of aggressive turn. Slight bit of understeer there through turn 6. That's going to be a tiny bit concerning. 300ths up though in the opening sector is still not quite enough to gain a place.
Yeah, slight mistake, I think, that one more or less from Max van der Geest, rather than the tyres sort of screaming at him. I think as he's going around now towards turn number 11, he'll want to try and keep this as planted as he can, as early as he can, rather, as he now heads his way down the DRS straight towards turn number 12. And this AlphaTauri will be hoping that he's going to see around about a tenth and a half, maybe 2 tenths, when he comes across the second sector split in just a moment's time.
So this is where the checkered flag comes out. He's a 10th up in Sector 2. He will know that currently he's good enough to be up there challenging Chiquita and Aaron Rai, and he's got to have now the most perfect final sector that takes all of the time out of it. Will he put Silo under notice with this attempt now as he really attacks it now through turn 19? Over to 20 at the Andretti. How good is it? Is it a 0.2 or a 0.1? Answer is it's a 0.2 and it's 4th for Max van der Geest. So now Silo, how much of an improvement can he find over the line? To a flat. He gets himself to. Now it's Aaron Rai's turn to beat a 30.0. It's a 30.1. Was a good improvement, but still not quite enough. Dirk now to the line, makes it a 1-3 with a 30.1, and now you look over, Quantum goes 6th, but now you're still looking around. Here's going to be a chance. Gavroche goes 4th on a 30.2. Caden's done. He can't improve. Yoopawop now is going to make the run 5th only with that attempt. Chiquita, it's on you and Ryderdal. Chiquita can't improve, but we know Ryderdal's invalidated and he's going to be stuck in 10th. Oh, ET8 did not need that. But what a moment that is. Silo's got the gap but he is being challenged hard by Aaron Rye.
Oh dear, Ryderdal ET8 so lowly down in 10th and 13th. It's not the standards we expect from them. Silo and Dirk P1, P3, they'll be happy with that one, but no surprises. I think Aaron Rye splitting the pair of them. Fabulous.
Well, one extra bonus point will be going the way of Shazoo Cedars Igniters. Just after this, we'll take you through the grid and then take us to racing action. But Silo on pole here in Austin. Field set then for racing action here tonight. The Circuit of the Americas. AMS Knight was unable to get out and get a qualifying lap in on the board. So despite scoring a qualifying ban, Otso Zito will go from 19th place instead of 20th. One less position to go and gain. Tatum Restex Christian will be in 18th. The second of the Alien Motorsport cars, Luca Vonderbos, there in 17th position. And then in 16th, it will be the last of the Tatum Restec cars in Kareem. It's a big shock down there with Armateo, 46th and 13th position, with AKP Adrian and Gotto. They're the second of the all-elite, or the all-elite cars, then with the first one making it into the top 10. But ETA are going to need to make places in the race to keep their championship hopes alive as we go to the middle middle two rows here, row 6 and row 5, where you got Ryderdal in 10th and Epic Vale in 12th. Fedamori will be going from 11th for the Angry Sharks, and AERT's Caden there in 9th. No time set for Ryderdal in Q3. Really put a big bit of pain in. It's 8th for Quantum. Max van der Geest will start from 7th with Jakita and Yoopop then in 6th and 5th. It's a great position for Ventari to jump into the top 5 in the championship, because you've got the likes, of course, of Gavroche in 4th position. Aaron Rai is there in 2nd, and then the two Shizou Cedars Igniters are 3rd and 1st with Dirk and Silo. And James, as far as that sits, SCI are in the driving seat for the title.
Yeah, certainly are. Might not be tonight if everything falls out of favour for them, but certainly with them towards the front, they're looking very confident. And, well, qualifying ban, no issue really for AMR either. Otzozito down in P19, naturally, but excuse me, Aaron Wright, wow, cracking lap. He really didn't have that pace, did he, in the middle of qualifying? And then as the Q2 and Q3 progressed, he ended up finding all that pace again. So really good stuff.
Yeah, some drivers just seem to wake up when they know they can push at 100%. When they can't and they just need to get in, maybe sometimes you see that the pace just wavers a little bit when they've got to try and drive at 98, 99% rather than the full 100 that you see out there. But this Circuit of the Americas track has always been a wonderful place for battling, James, and I think it's going to prove so again here today, knowing the fact that they've all got to give themselves room for sectors 2 and 3.
Strategy, a big part of this race as well, is a suspect on this one. We're expecting that the tyre degradation is going to be somewhat significant, so the undercut is powerful unless it does this. It rains.
It does, and so now this is going to throw a little spanner in the works for what they do on the start of this one, because I wouldn't say it's heavy at the moment, but I would say it's light enough that it's going to cause a bit of concern. It can go one way or the other then in terms of the time and the conditions that they've got. But how many people were expecting to see a wet Circuit of the Americas?
It's possible. It is obviously on the border of the Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico, so the expectation is rain could fall on circuit, but certainly of the intermediate variety, looking at the amount of rain that's falling on the pit lane. But you never know, it might dry up a little bit. We might end up for not just a one stop, it could be potentially a 2.
And that could definitely open up opportunities for drivers to go and be aggressive on their tyres if this is going to go to an intermediate race the entire way around. Those tyres do burn quickly, and so it might be a management race. And of course, the last time we had a big wet race that stayed wet the whole way, it was the season opener at Silverstone Reverse, and that was where Silo decided one stop was going to be better than 2, and that was the way that it needed to be conducted. 20 cars on the grid then here, 28 laps around the Circuit of the Americas, lights out, and it is a good start by Silo as they will now crest the hill. It looks like Caden's got a fantastic launch off the run, swapping the beams up into the opening section. Dirk then to the inside of Aaron Rai, trying to work her way through on the exit. There's a little bit of contact there through the middle, but Aaron Rai has been able to hold as they will now scarper along into the S's section for the first time. Gavroche, they're losing out to Yoopop, who's had a good start, and one car that's gone backwards is Armateo. He's down to 15.
Intermediate tyres are definitely the choice tyre, but at the moment the track looking a little bit on the drier side, so we may end up seeing the dry tyres sooner rather than later between these drivers. Great start from Silo though, Aaron Ryan Dirk holding position, but Yoopop up position against Gavroche in 4th.
Yep, so good progress has been seen through the early stages of this race. And there's the side-by-side as Gavroche tries to muscle out the move, also to help his teammate Max van der Geest find a way through. Fedamori's had a lightning start. AKP Adrian also up 3 places then, as they will take the run down towards turn number 12. Here they are battling on the brakes. Good drive in by Caden, looking to get up into 8th position back there. Side by side as well is the likes of Max van der Geest, who's having to work hard for it. Dirk now under pressure from Gavroche, who's trying to go through almost 3 wide there with both of the Angry Shark McLarens there in the background, as Fedamori tries to push his way through to get up +5 and is not quite getting it there. Ryder Dahl's in the mix as well, so 2 is AKP Adrian. This is an aggressive start, and there's contact through the triple right.
Yeah, because they're going 3 wide when all the cars are understeering. There was bound to be a bang of wheels, and you know what? Fair play to Chiquita in that one, because he could have lost a position. Banging wheels again with Ryderdahl as they go through 20. And in that scenario, Ryderdahl coming out on top as Silo naturally setting the fastest lap of this race. Look at the still side by side with Chiquita, though, who gets the nice switch back at 20. Looks like he's also got the slight understeer, but they're hooking wheels ever so slightly. He's going to have to go for the late breaker. Is Ryderdahl banging wheels again with the McLaren, but the Angry Shark showing anger in the puddles of this circuit and happy to take the position right back out the hands of the ET8 man.
They're sliding about like nobody's business here to start this race, and they're having to be aggressive on every move out there because every place is mattering at a moment like this. Silo knows he's in a very comfortable position. You can see it's a difference between 1 or 2 stops, depending on how well you can treat your intermediate tyres that are out there. So I would look around at this here as now Dirk loses the place to Gavroche on the straight. So that's going to be a change up at turn 11, but Dirk can use the whole straight now, burn a bit of battery, get back down to the inside and fend that place off again. It's his result, I would argue, that is more important than Silo's today.
Yes, certainly. If he could get up into P2, maximise the opportunity for a potential championship win here. But Gavroche is defending like a lion. It's important for Ventauri and their fight in the title hunt as well, rather in the championship hunt, rather to maximise every race they can. And with the fact that you've got Max van der Geest up in P6, Gavroche in P4 would be ideal, but he loses the position with the likes of Dirk and actually Uopawop looking like he's putting him under pressure.
Yeah, and that pressure is telling, and you're starting to think that if Gavroche can't get this move sorted, then maybe it'll be Uopawop who will try and get his way through. But it's a lot tougher to overtake in the wet because they don't have the help of the DRS. Silo sets the fast lap of the race. He's already 2 seconds down the road. I think what makes him really difficult is even in dry conditions, he's the best, but in the rain, he's untouchable. Gavroche with a late lunge down to the inside is going to get the car fully alongside, and the drive off the exit. Now, is that a tiny bit of damage on that front wing? Not enough to knock off an end plate or anything, but it looks like Dirk here might have a little bit of scraping on that front wing.
Yeah, he's now lost 2 seconds to Aaron Rye, which his pace didn't suggest that Dirk was that slow in comparison to the AMR man, but I think it's partially also because he's under quite a lot of pressure at the moment from Ventauri's Gavroche. You'll see perhaps go for a little bit of a dive into 11. You might as well. They've got no DRS going through into 12, so he might go for the dive, and that's exactly what the Racing Bull has done. They bang wheels, or bang sides rather, at the side pod to wheel, and he'll continue onwards. Dirk, he's defending very well at the moment, but surely it's a matter of time before the Ventauri man is going to get this move done against the Alpine Renault. Is it going to be a dive down the inside? It will be a dive down the inside as they go through into 12, as the Racing Bull is trying to get in there, needs a couple of bites of the cherry, might squeeze him off the circuit, but they continue racing side by side at the moment as Dirk defends this one. Switchback opportunity then as they go through the treble right-hander, and then they'll go through into this deep left-hander. Dirk will try and defend this one, but the traction is surely on the outside of the corner. They're still side by side between the pair of them as they now go through the treble right-hander, and it looks like the Racing Bull's got this one done.
Yeah, that's a good move, and Dirk will realise now that he's down to 4th. He'll drop 2 extra points, and so at the moment, if it were to end like this, it would be champions today in SCI, and they would be champions by 1 point margin out there compared to what they need. So they know that they can't afford to drop any more positions than what they've got at the moment, but this might be a difference maker as well between who's pushing and who's not pushing in the early stages of this race. I think that's also worth keeping in mind at the moment, that some drivers will be going out there and being uber aggressive. Other drivers will turn around and look at today and say, look, I'm going to be conservative on my tyres because I want to save a full stop out there compared to having to trundle down the lane twice.
Yeah, keeping an eye out on Dirk, though, because he's already lost a second to Gavroche, which just goes to show how quick the Ventari was in comparison to the SCI man. So Uopawop will be keen to get this one done as quickly as he possibly can as well. He might be looking for it at 12 as well. Now, Dirk will get a little bit of a toe off of the back of Gavroche, but he is losing time hand over fist at the moment. I don't think there's damage on the car. I just think that he's finding that this circuit in these conditions are just not ideal, and he's finding that he can't translate the performance of qualifying into that as a result.
And just want to point out as well that in all of this case, as AKP Adrian picks up the first warning, and it is 3 seconds worth of time penalty that he gets, all results will be provisional pending on the early ready-ups for Q1. So whoever got dinged for that or will be dinged for that, it will be looked at post-race, and there will be penalties out there. So keep an eye out on that as they get themselves set and sorted. So that's what you got to be very alert to. There was also another early ready up before the race started as well. So that's why we had a long hold, because someone readied up too much. Gavroche, fastest lap of the race, will take a point away from SCI.
Yeah, he's taken that away from Dirk because he's just been unleashed now with the gap around about 1.2 to Dirk. Uopawop not gaining as much ground on Dirk as much as I thought he would, as we've lost Kareem. He's retired in the pit lane, so that means all drivers that remain in this race will now score points, but Tetem Restek now down to 1.
Yeah, and they were down at the bottom, 19th and 20th between Kareem and Christian out there. So this is going to be really difficult for the pair as they now realise that Tetem Restek could be lining the bottom. They're currently on 1 point, playing against 5. That would tie them in the championship at the bottom, with Alien Motorsport going into the final round at Losail. Now that would be an interesting case at the battle of the bottom.
Yeah, certainly would be as well, of course, because if you manage to finish at least 9th place overall, you get your money back. So it's going to be always worth fighting for all the way through. Rain still not alleviating in this race, though, as they're keeping an eye out on Max van der Gies as he tries to, pretty much defend from Fed Mori more than trying to defend Uopawop at the moment, who is now starting to close down on Dirk as they go through in the third sector. You can see how close that Mercedes is now starting to get to the Alpine Renault, and one would suggest that Dirk is going to be in trouble on the next lap, because it looks like Uopawop, the RSC man, is lining it up.
Ryderdal making moves now. He's up to 7 with a good bit of passing. Quantum has gone absolutely nowhere. 3 seconds, so that's both of the Future Racing Team cars now with 3 seconds of time penalty in their back pockets, and so they're going to have to lump that around like it's ballast, but suddenly the positions are being found. Lucas van der Bosch then is going to get a 3-second penalty as well. But now you start turning around. As far as it stands now, ET8 moving up, they're 7th and 11th. And currently this championship's going all the way to Losail, penalties pending.
Yeah, but it's all about those penalties and keeping an eye out as well on the early ready-ups as well. So if any of the usual drivers that are in this sort of title hunt ends up making that mistake, then they'll end up in a lot of trouble. Either way, keeping an eye on Chiquita at the moment. Pretty poor from Chiquita so far in this race. Down 7 positions. Started in quite the dizzying heights, to be fair, for the Angry Sharks. Up at the dizzying heights of P5, but just down the order, he's fallen to P13. Splitting both of the penalty-ridden FRT drivers as a late breaker from Epic Vale wanted to go side by side with All Elite Racing Team's Caden, manages to get the jump, but then ends up racing side by side. Better exit from the green machine means that he'll stay in front as they now head down towards turn number 12. Is there going to be any defensive effort, I wonder, from the Kick Sauber, or is Epic Vale going to go for the dive? No, they'll hold station. Epic Vale staying in P10 while Uopawop has lost ground to Dirk once again.
Yeah, that's now gone out to 0.8 of a second. So whatever Dirk's been struggling with, he's managed to gather it back up and feel quite comfortable with the way that he's been managing that. Big wide line's being taken. That's enough for Mateo to try and send a sortie down the inside. He's not going to get that move done, but he is now starting to get himself then into positions. And if there's any driver that you wouldn't want finding positions and settling into a race, it would be Mateo. He's very good at finding his way through. 45.4 is now the fast lap out there, which indicates to me that the track is getting better and better as they go. And I see not that much rain out there on the main cameras, but here on this onboard, there is still something.
Yeah, track is definitely evolving a little bit here as the rain is starting to alleviate. Definitely still intermediate conditions, but it's that kind of rain at the moment where there may be a chance that we might be going on to dry tyres before the rain actually stops here, because it's so light. Whilst all 19 drivers are racing around here warming up the circuit, that will evaporate and will obviously give everyone an opportunity for a very lengthy crossover period. So keep an eye on that one, especially a circuit like this where the undercut is extremely powerful. That could make it very tasty indeed. There's a little mistake there from Epic Fail at 10. He'll now head his way down towards 11 in the hope that he's not going to get dived by Mateo. Is he going to look for it? No, he is going to dive for it going into 11. Side by side they will go. Banging wheels there, ET8 between RSC, but RSC will have the better exit with the better traction, but they'll continue side by side as Mateo surely will now tuck him behind, I would suspect. No, he's going to continue racing as they go through towards 12.
Definitely burning the battery. He's going to get pushed all the way over to the left-hand side of the circuit. Will get the move done, and Epic Fail will get 3 seconds there for the nudge into the back on Mateo. They're being too aggressive in through the corner on the defense, and Mateo just placing his car beautifully, puts himself inside that top 10, and will say, right, who's next on my list? The answer will be All Elite's Caden, who's currently in 9th position. So the veteran Mateo making his move up and saying, look, I don't need to qualify well to go and gain my places. I'm inside this top 10 and I'm here on merit.
Yeah, the problem is with Epic Veil there is, especially going through turn 12, he attempted an undercut that was actually very well controlled by Mateo. So as a result, Epic Veil needed to do a little bit more of the left-hand lock to try and avoid potentially a full-on collision. He ended up cutting the corner as a result, and that's the reason why he now has a time penalty. Towards the back, Quantum now pitting. Is it another fresh set of intermediate tyres, or is he moving to a dry? It is another fresh set of inters. These tyres burning out pretty rapidly, but he's committing to that undercut.
Now, you're looking around, he'll have to go at least 10, 11 laps on a set of intermediates if he's pitting on lap 8 of this race. So you'd look around and start thinking, well, if you want to even stint it on a 2-stop strategy, you've only got to make 9 laps and then 1 stint of 10. If you're pitting here, end of 7, start of 8, you're going to be in for a really tough middle stint of this race, because you know you're trying to undercut a couple of the drivers that are there around you. You've got to be bold, you've got to be brave, you've got to be adventurous, especially around here where there's going to be a hefty amount of fuel burn needed for the amount that you're just riding the throttle through some of these corners. You're just waiting here, especially in this arena section, James, to put the power down properly and stamp it, so you're often between gears or in a high gear if you manage to set the ratios properly.
Yeah, Rhea just stepping out, though, for a UOP at the moment. He's not finding it comfortable in that third sector. What's his treble right-hander looking like? You can see there the Rhea is wanting to step out. He's got a very front-loaded car that's very, very pointy on the front. And around a track like this where it's a bit slippy, he's not particularly confident. And that's what's causing him potentially to not really get anywhere near Dirk's kind of pace. Dirk's still 1.2 behind Gavroche, by the way. Gavroche still the fastest person on circuit, though. Silo did set the fastest lap, but was immediately beaten by Gavroche, so he's now beginning to close down the gap on Aaron Rye, as we now have another person pitting, and it's Caden, who was racing directly with Quantum.
Yeah, and so this will, I think, be in some element to cover off that move as we go on board with Fedamori through the assist section. Everyone's starting to fill themselves out a little bit, find a tiny bit of a gap here, find a gap there, and I think for the moment Fedamori will know and understand that it's about trying to keep with the cars in front, giving yourself platform, and it's all right being good when the tyres are at 0 to 10% or over to 20%. So once they get to 30, 40, 50, that's the really critical practice. How do you manage tyres that are not at their best and they are wanting to try and basically burn and flame themselves out?
1.2 seconds Quantum found, by the way, on that outlap after the pit stop. So he is flying out there at the moment. The gap was around about 12.3. It's now 10.5. So he is now gaining a rapid rate of knots at the moment here. And that may serve as a little bit of a question mark to our other 17 drivers here about whether they're going to commit to a second set of inters before we potentially head on to a set of dries, as the clouds are looking like they're lightening up a little bit. Sunshine may start appearing within the next 5 to 10 laps.
Yeah, those rays are going to be critical here for whether this circuit will dry or not. Fedamori here in 8th position will be keeping note of Quantum, who's got the 3 seconds worth of time penalty that are in play. But for the moment, Fedamori closing up and just not able to find the traction off the exit of the corner. In comes AKP Adrian, so that's both the Haas's then making that call. Gotto will follow. They're very much committed. Then All Elite and Future Racing Team on this 2-stop strategy.
AERT and FRT certainly thinking that the double interstint is probably the fastest strategy. It is, but whether or not they're going to be able, as you can see with Quantum getting the fastest lap, it's whether or not they're going to be able to earn the time back from the pit stop. That's the question. Quantum flying, though, it now is falling now under 10 seconds behind Christian. He's found around about 3 seconds since he's pitted.
Yeah, so those 3 seconds are critical. He's jumped his own teammate out there, but you also have to look at the flip side of it, as Lucas gets another 3 seconds worth of penalty, puts him up then to 6 seconds worth out there. That's a lot of slipstream grab, trying to go through it side by side here. Not for Europa. Just going over to the far left-hand side of the circuit. I wonder whether that was to actually cool the tyres down.
Yeah, it's potentially that's the case, actually, because these intermediates will start to feel a little bit weird because the circuit, as you can see, is not particularly wet. There's no particular dry line on circuit, but to be fair, I don't really think there was any kind of severe dampness on circuit because the spray was so insignificant at the beginning of this race. It was, of course, an Inters stint, but I think we're not going to be too far away from them starting to consider their dry tyre compounds over the next 5 to 10 laps. So just keep an eye on this one and see who decides to make that call. It's almost certainly still Inters, but people are starting to feel that it's going to become quite difficult, as I believe we're starting to see people, is that not pitting? I think there's actually a race happening at the moment between Fedmori and Ryderdal. In fact, no, I think it's Ryderdal's in the pits. Yeah,
so he didn't get the pit measure of it, but there go, a set of intermediate tyres on for Ryderdal, who makes his stop, and also then flying about into pits will come one more. So we're getting a couple drivers deciding that now's the time. I think it's Knight who's in there. Caden now with the fastest lap of 43.8 on a track that isn't necessarily wet, but maybe you could call greasy out there at this moment in time. But Ryderdal has covered off the move of Quantum. Now that is critical.
Yeah, greasy is a deep fat fryer at the moment out on circuit is a really good way to describe this circuit. But Ryderdal was actually within 1.6 seconds of Quantum as a result of this one. Now, Quantum wasn't racing with Ryderdal, so that just goes to show how powerful this undercut even is on the intermediates at this circuit. The rain's still falling, but very, very light, if not at all, in the first sector. Certainly, definitely in the second. But you can see it's becoming extremely light, and one would suspect that the intermediate stints is probably going to be coming to an end imminently.
Fedamori having to take 2 bites to get himself through the corner there as he stays on the back of Max van der Geest of the likes of Yo Opoop, and they're only 3 laps away from waking up the one-stop strategy on intermediate tyres alone. They'll also be eyeing that up right now and saying, well, is this going to work for me on a one-stop? Everyone attacking the final corner. I think Aaron Rye might be down in the pits, and also in is going to go Fedamori, so he's going to make that call. There is Aaron Rye getting service taken here, in and out. He doesn't really have to wait too much for Yopo up there for RSC, so that's another little change then that's been sorted out. Now, where is Ryderdal going to be by comparison, and will he have to go one stop or 2 stop with what he's trying to do? Moves over to the right-hand side of the circuit, sees the car up in front of Yopo. He is going to jump Fedamori with the stop, but critically couldn't get enough for the RSC Mercedes.
Yeah, this is the thing for Quantum and Adrian at the moment. They were one of the earlier pit stoppers in FRT, so now their race is going to be about how they manage the tyres now until what they hope will be a dry stint. Because, of course, if they, try to take these intermediates to the end, I think they'll find that actually the wear is going to be quite significant. For those that are committing to a semi-two-stop, at this point in the race, if they were to pit, they could easily get their intermediate tyres to the end, but I'm not entirely sure about Quantum and Adrian. They're banking on there being a dry stint in this race.
A dry stint or even a safety car could very much change the complex of this one, as Ryderdale now sees there the bit of side-by-side of Tatum Restex Christian, who has yet to make a stop in this race. Comfy pass then on the Aston Martin, and now it's the turn of Ryderdale to go and figure this move out. Can't quite manage it, so it's sticking in the line and finding the place that works. Angling for that inside, doors left ajar. There's also a look on Lucas van der Bos, who is there in sixth. Now in comes, I believe, Dirk to make his pit stop then. So that's the first that we see of the STI cars round the outside, inside of 19. Brilliant stuff by Ryderdale there to make that pass. Needed to on Lucas van den Bos, who wasn't going to fight it because he was coming in for a pit stop.
Hopefully we'll get the tyres back in the second here to see just the difference in what people are doing for committing the one-stop or the two-stop. But the thing is that I'm keeping an eye out on that situation. Dirk is now in a bit of a strong battle with Ryderdale. Look how close it is. Knight's coming in. I think it's a bit too early, if I'm honest with you. But a very well-crafted overtake at turn one from Ryderdale. He's got Dirk.
He has, and Ryderdale needed it, and they know at ET8 they need at least one car in front of Dirk because they need what they need. Corner cutting called for Knight. That's going to be 3 seconds worth of penalty. He's going to sit down. He's back in the pits again, and he will also retire for Alien Motorsport. So now they're down to one car each in terms of their battle, 17th and 18th. At the moment on the road. So Ryderdale now 9th position, eyeing up then what's been going on with Dirk, with Fedamori, with AKP Adrian out there, and they now realise here they've got to be bold and they've got to be brave. Drivers like Otso Zito, for example, yet to pit. Remember, he had the quali ban. He's been quiet all race long, and Aaron Rai is a full pit stop ahead of his teammate.
Yeah, the problem for AMS, though, is that they're in a strong battle with TRT and they were guaranteed at least a definite point, even if they made the wrong call. So why they've decided to retire Knight, I don't know. Very good move for Ryderdale and Nuopuop at the moment in this strong battle on the intermediate. Dirk wants to get this one done quickly on Nuopuop, but the fact is they are actually racing for significant position. They're all on around about the same age tyres. Ryderdale 1 lap later. Silo in the pits now, but I think he's going to get severely undercut here.
Well, Ventari is staying out the longest of everyone. Armateo, I think, is also staying out as long as he possibly can. I wonder whether they're going to try and hold out for dries and whether that's going to be a strategy that can give them anything that they want. There is still rain falling, and it still looks like it's an intermediate race here. So it's certainly eyeing itself up right now that it's not going to dry up enough. You're not going to get enough out there of these conditions. It's not going to be quick enough for what you need it to. Aaron Rai then comes out critically ahead of Silo by 2 seconds, but Silo has 2 laps of tyre to go and start chasing that back. Ryderdale effectively a net third.
Both drivers can go to the end of this race pretty comfortably here, so unless there's a dry stint incoming here, Aaron Rai has got a good opportunity to get one up on Silo here, and actually it might not be a Suzuki Igniter race win. And of course, don't discredit the both Ventaris and Matteo. If the dry stint ends up appearing at right time, they might just commit to the one stop from intermediate straight to dry, so they're putting their eggs, I think, in the dry basket as well. 14 of 28, we're halfway there.
Sometimes you're going to have to gamble, and this might certainly start looking like it. There is Fedamori fighting Yoopoo up then, the team in 7th against the team going for 3rd in the championship, who are 3rd at the moment by a handful of points, and Fedamori closing himself down, but not quite finding everything he needs in terms of a place. Yoopoo is holding his ground, and now Max van der Geest is going to come in for a pit stop. He can't stay out any longer on 14 laps. Armateo is going to follow in, which leaves Gavroche out there on his own at the moment, and so expect this to be intermediate tyres that go on. Ryder now with the fastest lap, a critical point which currently is going the way of those at ET8. And look at how far they tumble. Van der Geest out of the top 10.
50-50 strategy then for Ventauri, as Gavroche will be pitting at the end of this lap. One would suspect Aaron Rai has lost a significant chunk of time. He was 2 seconds up, now 8 tenths, 9 tenths against Silo. Ryderdal 3.5 behind, as we've got a problem with Gotto, who's now got a 3-second penalty for his troubles. That's a AERT driver down in P11. Situation report in that midfield at the moment. Adrian and Quantum, who made the earlier pit stops, now up to 8th and 9th place. Gap 1.3 to Fed Mori, and they'll be hoping to at least get a big points haul, the Future Racing team.
Yeah, but if they're going to be on a 2-stop strategy and they've both got 3 seconds of penalty, that's way too aggressive there by Quantum through that corner. You are asking for a penalty if you go over that aggressively. I'd turn around and look at them and say, well, if that's your race right now, Future Racing team versus the Kick Salvers over at All Elite, All Elite are in the driver's seat right now with Caden, and Caden will be able to get there. Well, not if he's going to have to start fighting the car hard out of the exits of these corners. It's so easy here. This is a circuit that just requires so much foot control of the throttle. You can't just plant it full throttle out of many, if any.
Yeah, problem we've got at the moment, as well as the conditions, are certainly in that very strong crossover period. Side-by-side action between Max van der Geest and Gotto, the AERT driver, and the Ventauri man going side-by-side as they go through 19. The Red Racing Bull comes out on top. Gavroche finally making his pit stop, as Aaron Rai will take his lead in this race. But Silo getting close, side-by-side as they go through turn 1. Banging wheels they will as they continue going on here. Aaron Rai is going to have the advantage between them going through here, but there may be a bang of wheels as he understeers. But it looks like the Alpine Renault, regardless of not being an advantage, has got the lead of this race once again.
We talk tyres, and it's those tyres that make the difference. Aaron Rai doesn't have much to fight with. Silo was using the slipstream beautifully to get to the fastest lap, and so that is going to be huge. Silo knows how critical it is to be up near the top. He has been running roughshod over this championship, all bar one occasion. He's been in the racing action. He has won the race. The only driver he didn't win against was the one he's just passed.
I don't think the rain is falling on circuit either now, so the track is going to start drying up relatively rapidly. Aaron Rai might go for the dive here. Is there any rain falling on circuit? If it is, it's very, very light indeed. It must be the lightest of light rain I think I've ever seen in esports. And to be honest with you, looking at it at the moment as well, the track does look like it's lightening up a little bit as well. So these conditions are going to start improving, I think, at a rapid rate of knots. But the question is as of when and if, actually, if we're going to get on the dry tyre.
And on top of that, keep an eye on Dirk, because he'll be eyeing up the likes of ET8 Ryderdal for position. That's going on for 3rd and 4th. Ryderdal stuck 3.5 seconds back of Aaron Rai at this moment in time. So Dirk probably is looking at this scenario here and thinking, I'm not best pleased with the fact that I am in this place right now. I know I've got to be close enough. I know I've got to try and get myself every drive I can. In comes Caden, so this will be the second round of pit stops with 11 laps to go. Chance to undercut, but surely another set of inters will be going on here.
Yeah, potentially, but the problem is those that have pitted a little bit earlier, I'm thinking Quantum, Adrian, and of course both of the AERT drivers, have had to commit to the 2-stop, and I think they were hoping that the dry tyre was going to be the better tyre to be on at some point. I'm now looking in that first sector. The rain is a little bit heavier in the first sector, it might be a little bit less in the second, so it doesn't look like here that we're going to be heading towards a dry tyre anytime soon, even though the track looks so dry. It's such a weird situation to be in if you are a driver. It certainly is from a commentary perspective. Late breaker from Dirk as he tries to get past Ryderdal, but Ryderdal getting the better exit, but they'll continue to race strong now over the next lap or so, and Dirk should have Ryderdal done and dusted relatively soon. It might even be now, to be fair. Look at the overspeed with overtake available. He gets that move done. He's up to P3.
Yeah, Ryderdal, who tried to undercut his way to position early, has now got a long way to bring it on home and understands that factor, and we'll be seeing Yoopawop and Fedamori thinking in shadows, going, I'd quite like a place as well. And every position's going to matter with Dirk and Silo now in 1-3 placement once again. Fastest lap in Silo's back pocket. We're talking about whether this is going to go an extra round or not here in this championship. And Dirk knows that was a critical pass, and he'll need some help from those behind. Silo again, 43.5, lights up the timing sheets purple.
Here we go then. The track is really starting to ramp up, but with Silo with that clean air, he's starting to stretch his legs a little bit. And here is the first of the FRT drivers completing their second stop of 2. They committed to it. They hoped the dries were going to be coming. It wasn't going to happen. They're going to have to now fight their way on a fresh set of tyres for the next 10 in the hope that they can try and get some of the time back that they've lost by doing the double stop.
So, out and away again they go. Covered at the moment they are. Our Shazoo Cedars Igniters by 6 points, mainly due to the fact that the ET8 Ryderdal is up there in 4th position. But if Ryderdal were to fall to 5th to 6th, as Adrian gets another 3 seconds to move him up to 6th out there. If Ryderdal falls anywhere outside of 7th position, this could be a very dramatic end to this race. You've also got to remember Ryderdal, 5-lap older tyres in comparison to Max van der Geest and Gavroche, who will be charging late in this race. And already we're nearing 10 laps to go here around the circuit of the Americas. And right now, this has not been one where the drivers have been close and they've been locking horns every 3 corners. This has been a lot more tactical. This is about who's managed tyre and who's managed condition better than anyone else.
Yeah, the biggest race of what if, I think, in this one is the best way to describe it here. What if the tyres are not going to be good enough? What if we have to make that pit stop? What if we need a dry tyre? What if the sun starts coming out? The rain has started to, I think, to be honest with you, remain the same, but the clouds have got a little bit darker. So it looks like we're going to be in for a very light rain kind of race, and it looks like we're not going to be on the dry tyres, but you never know what will happen. Again, it's a giant what if, as we're watching you up, trying to get as close as he can to Ryderdal as Adrian comes in for his second and final pit stop.
Yep, Chiquita also losing position to Otto Zito, who's desperately fighting to get back to the 2 Mercedes cars there of Epic Vale and Europop, who are 5th and 9th. Otto Zito in 11th. I think it's just mitigating it, and so this is where AMR are starting to drag themselves back in. Penalties, of course, are still to be applied out there late in this race. So keep that in mind for those who triggered the early start of a couple of races, a couple of lobby resets needed to taken place. Mateo down in 13th place right now, and this is a lonely race at this stage for him. He was able to gain places in the early part, but at the time he made his pit stop, it looks like he needs a bit of help, and that battle in front is certainly getting spicy as Gotto is going to lose out 1 spot, nearly a second. Chiquita's now eyeing this up.
Yeah, decent effort here as they're now following each other line astern as they head down towards turn number 12. Gotto's going to have the traction as he goes down the right side of the straight, and Chiquita also looking for it as well. Otsazito did well to get the double overtake at 11. By the looks of things, I think he's just going to hold on to the 1 position as Chiquita bails out of any kind of move going through 13. So Otsazito up to 11th. Adrian manages to get the jump then on Lucas as Caden does the same thing. Side-by-side action with Otsazito and Gotto as he tries to get that position right back out of his hands, and now he's into the top 10.
9-lap old intermediate tyres, not feeling too funky fresh out there at this stage. Now here's a look up at ET8 Ryderdal. Oppo Op is now eyeing up his position, but he's not quite close enough yet to go and make that move. But he's also having to be a little bit cautious as Gotto pits with those burnt tyres. He's got to be careful of Fed. Amori, this is what I call Schrodinger's overtake. You have to attack and defend at the same time.
Yeah, rain still falling on circuit, but very lightly again. As a quick reminder, that's why everyone's still on these intermediate tyres. It's a very weird race here. This is an uncharacteristic move here to potentially do it at the top of the hill, but in the end, for Yoopawop not putting any pressure on Ryderdal. He's now on 1 lap fresher tyre, but you can see with every lap, especially a 2-lap significant difference with these conditions just not suiting the intermediates, but the dries are not suiting these conditions either. It's very, what is it, Turkey 2020 20, I think it was. Just these cars and the tyres just don't suit the conditions. Doesn't matter what you select. It's like you need a tyre between intermediate and dry at the moment.
A super intermediate, if you will, or an all-terrain tyre that can go out there and clear a semi-slick. So, at this stage, Opop getting close, but close is just not quite cutting the mustard, and he gets a kick of tail there through 14 into 15. That's going to be doing no favours for carrying the speed and the momentum through the corners. You're trying to just open up everything you can, a corner here, a corner there. It makes the world a difference. And so right now you're asking, what's a corner's worth of momentum going to do for difference? Well, just watch this one. In comes Aaron Rye. Oh, this is brave. He'll be followed in by Dirk. I wonder if they've all got the call that you need to be on dries now, because everyone except Silo's just jumped in.
Yeah, interesting. We'll see. No, it's a fresh set of intermediates for Aaron Rye. Is anyone else going to select the dry tyre? I don't think so. It's a fresh set of intermediates. So these people have elected to extend their first stint, and they were wondering whether they might be able to commit to this one stop. But in the end, it looks like the two stop was the better call. And suddenly, FRT's race down in 13th and 15th is looking a little bit more healthier, with Adrian setting the fastest lap as well.
Yeah, now watch where our Matteo is, because he's going to be critical now in this race as he will try and hold up many. He's just lost out to Dirk, who's got out ahead, Ryderdale behind that. So if our Matteo can hold those tyres out for what is another 7 laps on a one-stop strategy, he's got to hope that drivers like Ryderdale, Yoopawok, Fedamori don't find their way through. AKP Adrian will be another one out there who will be wanting to dive on by. That's the race where they set up. Gavroche and Max van der Geest 17 seconds down on Silo. Clearly on a one-stop. Clearly, the issue for Silo is he's got to make a pit stops gap over Gavroche and Max van der Geest.
I don't think he will at the moment either, so I'm wondering if my question on my lips here is, are Ventauri going to do something a little bit different here and actually, say to your drivers, go on, have a go and try and get it to the end? Because if they can, that would take the tyres, what's that one? 7 laps to go, so 13 laps and 12 laps for Van der Geest and Gavroche respectively. We have will take them around 10 laps, but will the 12 or 13 take it the way? Decent dive from Aaron Ryan, those fresh tyres, happy to keep going. What's he going to be doing in terms of an undercut versus Silo? I don't think it's going to be too powerful though, we'll see.
Well, this pit stop is going to mean the world in terms of who does what. There goes Silo now, leaving pits along the main straight. Goes Gavroche, and will he be able to say that he can inherit the race lead? The answer to that is yes. Up the hill into turn number 1 at Big Red. Gavroche has got the lead. Silo is going to have to make a pass.
Yeah, this is the thing now. Will Gavroche just give the position up to Silo and try and defend P2? Or are they going to try and defend Silo and get Max van der Geest to close up? I wonder. It'll be interesting to see what Gavroche's strategy is going to be here. I think it'll be all decided at turn 11, turn 12. Let's see what he does.
Well, here you can see how much he's having to struggle on the worn tyre through 9. Now here through turn 10. He won't even wait till turn 11. Thank you. Goodbye. He will jump on through without any worry at all as Gavroche, Max van der Geest, Epic Vale and Otto Zito, all currently on a one-stop strategy, are turning around, looking at who will be diving through. Gavroche here with nothing to really deal with out there at this point. And now, there goes Aaron Rye straight through on Epic Vale.
Aaron Rye lost a bucket of time in the end in battling with other people versus Silo, and the undercut not working at all for him, losing about 4 seconds in the end to the backs of Silo. But Dirk is trying to get past Epic Vale. Epic Vale probably won't defend this too aggressively here. Dirk tried to go for the lazy switch back here, sees the opportunity, tries to go for it, but off camber he won't have the traction out of the corner despite being on the better tyre, and Epic Vale will stay up in P5, but the overtake I think is inevitable for Dirk, for the Scottish outfit, on lap 23 of 28 when they come across the line.
So, time's running out. Otto Zito can't go further. He's going to depart out of this one then, and he will go into the pits for service. Now you turn around and see those fastest laps are being chucked in, and this is going to be critical now, what time Silo can do, because he's not just racing against who's behind him. He is racing every car in the field, and he needs that fastest lap bonus point.
Yeah, pure definition of just a light rain race, and has just meant that these tyres, though the better tyre, weren't the best tyre, because there's not really a best tyre out there, to be honest with you. It's been pretty weak, to say the least, in terms of what we've had available in terms of rubber, but in terms of racing, it's obviously offered a few little extra opportunities. Great move from Silo against Gavroche in this one. It looks like Aaron Rye might be sizing for something up at turn number 12. He heads his way through 11, basically pushing the Ventari man around the corner.
Max van der Geest then over to the left-hand side of circuit, looking to try and cover it off. Look at it. You can even see heat haze there across the track. It is that weird of a condition that they've got here. There's the move down the inside. So thank you very much, says Aaron Rye. That will put him up to third, and he'll now eye up Gavroche here for second place in these late stages of this one. Everybody now teetering about on what they need to do. Ryderdal and Armateo have changed places, but Armateo under threat from Europawop and Fedamori.
Track's certainly lightening up again here as the sun is trying to break through the clouds, but nothing I've seen at the moment, as we still see the rain falling on the circuit. Opawop trying to get as close as he can to Mateo. Silo no doubt setting the fastest lap of this race of 41.9, and there's a far cry from the qualifying laps that we had earlier on in this session. Opawop looking to try and get as close as he can to Mateo. How quickly can he get this one done though? 3 laps versus 9.
So 6 laps worth of difference, maybe even
Whoa,
7. Here comes the launch down the inside, and they're going to interlock tyres now through turn 2. You can't get the run at 3. He's trying to get up and under to go around. He's going to have to wait patient now, find a little moment where it's not going to work. Maybe through 5 into 6 is where you're going to open it up, extend the steering wheel out wide. No, so it's not going to happen here through 7, but maybe can find the inside at 8. Look, this is painful right now. This is like trying to pull teeth for Opawop in Sector 1.
Yeah, this is where all that experience from Mateo is going to come into the big hands of ET8 here. If he could try and maintain this one as Dirk has got past Ryderdal, it's going to be important here that in this scenario, as he gets past Max van der Geest, in this one, it's going to be critical that Mateo tries to hold on to this position if he can help it, because this is a big points haul for ET8 as it stands, especially with it being a very poor race weekend from the Spanish outfit.
Gavroche realising now that he's got to try and hold this. It's 1.5 seconds, basically, that he's got over Aaron Rye. 3 seconds over Dirk to try and get Ventari on the podium and into the top 5. And Fedamori and Opawop going side by side. So Mateo's been able to hold his place. Epic Vale losing out to Ryderdal. And now there's the move. Fedamori then up into 9th place, getting the pass sorted there. So Opawop, all sorts of trouble out there. Epic Vale, remember, is also on a 1-stop window, but has penalty in the pocket. So you start wondering whether this is going to be a case of how long are you going to hold? How long are you going to manage its limitation again late in this season? And Ryderdal eyeing a top 5 off of Max van der Geest, who realizes 1 stop was not the way.
Epic Vale has now officially taken the longest intermediate stint of this race so far with 11 laps. The maximum before that was 10, and that is now equal by Max van der Geest and Mateo as well. They're hoping to take those tyres to the end, but will they go to the end is the question in a circuit that is too dry for intermediates but too wet for the dries.
Well, too dry to be wet, too wet to be dry, too up to be down, to be left to be right, too straight of a pass through as Ryderdal gets it into 5th. He knows that he's got to try and dive with every single amount of power and prowess that he's got. Gavroche loses out to Aaron Rye, and now look at it, there's a little bit of who's who between Armateo and Epic Vale. Epic Vale covers off the line, and if you're not careful, watch out, doors open, and Fedamori will try and jump through it at any given chance. Not a lunge at turn 13, close there on the contact.
Oh, I don't want to do that one, but he's actually opened up the space, but that is going to allow Epic Vale. Oh, it's going to be 3 wide, potentially going through here. They're going to get a big tack slapper through there off camber, but Fedamori's welcomed himself into this battle, no issue whatsoever. He's got one of them. Is he going to get the other off of the line here? I think he might do, cracking from that McLaren Mercedes, and the Angry Sharks up to P7.
That's huge. Armateo drops down to 9th place. Opawop's going to want to get into the top 10 now. Epic Vale now holding his ground and doing so brilliantly at this stage. There's only a handful of laps left in this race, and so you turn around, you see Armateo now, he gets bold up at turn 1, commands the apex, says it's my corner, tries to shove out Epic Vale and manages it, and then they multi behind, so Opal up the quicker car immediately now has the chance to pounce.
And you'll see the Mercedes getting closer and closer through these medium speed corners. He's has to lift off the throttle a little bit as well. He's getting caught off guard behind slow.
Oh,
this Red Bull this could be a move. The collide going through turn 9, going into 10. They've got to keep it nice and cool, nice and easy through there. He got the traction, but Mateo didn't, and as a result, they've collided. It's going to be a late breaker. He's trying to defend it as much as he can, Mateo. Is he going to get the switch? He will not. Oh, it's a tag slapper. He's collided into the side of the RSC, man. He's been spun out. Mateo back up to P8, but ETA could be in trouble.
ETA will be in trouble for that. Armateo there with that move was petty coming out of turn 9. Just getting his elbows out, maybe too incessantly out there, and just inviting the opportunity to try and have a lunge like that. So Armateo, I think, is going to get dinged by the stewards for it, and they can't afford that with ET8. They're safe for the moment. Through goes AKP Adrian. Remember those cars behind. They have penalty in the pocket. There's a yellow flag out in Sector 2 for a spinner. By the looks of it, I think it's Chiquita who went around there. But now, with just 2 laps to go, this has been, I would say, a tough race. A really tough race where tempers are going to flare late.
You've had to concentrate for 27 laps. You've got to do it another couple of times here as Fed Mori gets the move done on Max von der Gies. Ventauri falling like a stone at the moment with these old tyres, but Angry Sharks very happy with their man now up to P6, trying to close it down on Ryderdal now. Gap around about 4 and a bit seconds for him. A gap of rather 5.5 seconds rather. But the gap of 6 seconds means that their battle is predominantly actually with Gav Roche at the moment, who's trying his best to hold on to P4, and he has an outside chance of it at the moment.
Well, that outside chance is going to be critical if he wants to jump up and do as well as he possibly can. There is Ryderdal. He's eyeing up Gavroche. He knows that Dirk is there. We've got Caden off the road now over as Chiquita picks up 3 seconds worth of penalty. So spin there for All Elite's Caden, but they'll be happy because All Elite will all but secure their place in 8th in the championship with this effort today. Look at how hard he's having to work here, James.
Yeah, Caden really struggling out there down in P18. Now he's spun out again at turn 8. So the AERT now are down at the back of the field in disappointing fashion on 10-lap-old intermediate tyres. Adrian with another 3-second penalty for the troubles of FRT. He's doing a decent job in P9, but he's going to fall down the standings just a little bit when all the penalties are applied as Caden gets another 3-second penalty. He's had a horrible couple of laps.
Oh, I wonder whether he's burst a tyre or something of that ilk. Gotto losing out to Otto Zito as the last lap of this race starts. And now look at Ryderdal. This is a must-make move here. This is a 2-point swing. A must-make pass as he knows that Gavroche is going to be holding him at the moment. And now up towards turn 1. They're going to switch it up. Down on the brakes. He's got the pass, a block pass. Then on Gavroche, who makes the contact into the rear. Not enough to damage the front wing, but that's a big bold pass by Ryderdal and beautifully executed as if he was in a stock car with a move like that. Brilliant stuff. And now he knows the gap of 2 seconds might be a bit too far to Dirk, but they've limited the damage here today at the Circuit of the Americas. They're giving themselves a chance out there to go and fight over towards the final round at Lusail. So now they know how critical this is going to be. This is going to be tough here. Aaron Rye's giving it a good go, but look at this gap. He's very tough to beat in the dry. He's nigh on impossible to stop when the water starts to pour down. Silo right now will realize that it's his music that's starting to sing. He knows as he rounds himself through 15 that the observatory corners here, 16, 17 and 18, there's a wonderful amphitheater on that right hand side. It's been pure theatre this season to see what SCI have been doing. They have proven again that they are top team, but they haven't got the championship done here. In the words of Joe Buck, We will see you on Thursday. Silo takes the win. It will be Aaron Rye second. It will be Dirk in third, but it will not be enough to secure the title here on Moving Thursday in the Velocity Ultimate Masters.
Oh, situation then report for ET8 Radidol getting P4 in the end. A good result from him. Matteo.
Whoa!
Oh, look at that one. He's actually been promoted, I think, up there. What's happened? Is that a puncture? I think it might be a rear left puncture for Max von der Geest. 13 laps are all these intermediates could handle, and he has got a rear left puncture, and that's disappointing for Ventari on the penultimate corner of the final lap. He will fall down to the depths of P15.
3 wheels on my wagon over the line. That one is going to sting for Max von der Geest as the last of the cars will cross. Caden will be that final driver who is all the way going through turn 11, turn 12. So as far as this will look for a day like Caden's, it will sting because he will drop a point or two to those rivals who are there around, but Gotto has got the job done for the team, and he, despite it, they're doing very well out there with the run, and almost you can turn this into a drift session here heading towards the line.
Yeah, it certainly is just, I think, having a bit of fun now on circuit as well. As unprofessional as it is fun to watch. But keeping an eye out on the situation with Max von der Geest. He ended up having that puncture with 13 lap-old intermediate tyres. I've got to give some serious credit to Epic Vale. He took his intermediates 15 laps in this race and still finished with all 4 of them pumped up to come across the line for P10, as it looks like Caden is going to finish this one backwards.
Well, why not? A J turn to finish it all off then here at the circuit of the Americas. But what a brilliant day's worth of racing again for the Shazoo Cenas Igniters. A day like today with 2 cars on the podium. James, there's nothing else you can really say about it except they have a hand on the title. They don't have the title yet, but they've got a hand on it.
I think a hand and definitely a pinky finger on the other one as well, to be fair. I think SCI were always looking like they were going to be the favourites of this one, especially with ET8's current roster sort of developments not being particularly strong. So situation for them at the moment is they're going to be going into Losail knowing that they're going to be the favourites of this one. All they need to do is just convert it, as they have done for the other 9 rounds of this championship.
So, how to convert on what has been a truly brilliant day's worth of running. The gap over the line will be classified as 6.5 seconds for Silo over Aaron Rye. Dirk then in third, and you look all the way down to retirements, Knight and Kareem, who find themselves with the troubles in this race then that say they don't get what they want. That's a strong day at the top, but there's also the sense of looking at Otso Zito finishing there in 9th position. That's a critical 9th for AMR, which should give them the advantage in the battle for 3rd going into Losail.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not all about the front as well, because of the midfield and the nature of the midfield as well at the moment being so tight. Every position that one gains is always going to be of massive benefit. Otsacito being all the way down in P18 at the start of this race made AMR's challenge a little bit more difficult. So to be fair, they've managed it quite well. What are they going to do going into Losail is the big question.
And let's take a look at that Losail circuit in the context of this calendar and championship, because you think about where they started last year at Melbourne, trying to get themselves into a qualifying event. To turn around, Qatar last year was the circuit that you needed to get good to qualify into this event. So this is a track that probably is a driver's track more than it is one where you're more likely to see those overtakes. There's a reason why we call this a circuit that's very good for 2 wheels and maybe a little bit tougher for 4, because it doesn't offer a great overtaking chance except that front straight.
Yeah, consistency is key for this circuit as well. As I said, with the driver nature of this circuit, it's always about making sure that you're the most consistent runner, especially if something comes out of the blue when you're racing with someone. And like this calendar itself, a quick reminder, this calendar was not what we started with, if you remember. Emilia-Romagna replaced Canada, Japan replaced China, and then Mexico replaced Japan. So it's all about making sure that you adapt to the conditions around you. At the end of the day, SCI are the ones that come out on top because of that.
Well, adaptability is key, and a team that started with 10 points worth of penalty for late submission of roster now has a chance to secure the title in 7 days' time here with Velocity Esports Racing. It's been a wonderful night's worth of running. It's been a tactical race. It's been one where the right strategy needed to pull itself off for victory on elongated twos or one stops with tyres that were popping at the end of the race. But at a circuit here in Austin where everything is just a little bit bigger, the lights are a little bit brighter, the energy that you need to get up to that level is just that more expensive to use. You turn around and say, Shazoo Cedars Igniters, they're on top. They've got 6 fingers on the trophy. Not enough to say that they're champions yet. So in the words of Joe Buck, we'll see you on Thursday for a title finale over in LaSalle.